for this part, we're going to start by meeting a new friend. So let's do that, shall we?
Oddly, it appears not to be the scar of a meteorite.
Ich bin Ludwig von Bayern, König dieser Lande. Des Schwanenritters alte Sage lebt in mir erneut.
Well, that's Ludwig. You will see that if we go to our relationship tab here, we are -6. That is usually pretty bad. If we try to declare friendship now, you almost certainly find that we cannot do so. What do I need of friends? I want to have music and art, all this sort of stuff. Probably can't even send delegation. There you go. How do we deal with this? He is quite close to us. We are rather neighbors. I want to be on his good side as soon as possible so I don't have to deal with the repercussions of not. So, this is the turn we've met him. What do I choose to do? Well, I usually love beelining for Early Empire. And with Early Empire, you get access to open borders. Before Early Empire, every civilization and city-state that doesn't have access to early Empire will not even have borders, so you just walk through anyway, regardless. But this allows your now closed borders to be open selectively for them. We will look back over here and we'll realize that that has given us +3 influence. We're still at -3. And generally, I like to think that +5 or greater is when you start turning a denounced or a red or a yellow unfriendly face into a friendly one. It will take a turn to go neutral and have no face on it, and then it will probably take another turn to go green. However, in this particular case, because this is the first turn we've met them, first turns are particularly valuable for a bunch of reasons. Are particularly potent when it comes to making good first impressions, as it were. This game really likes taking into account first impressions as a powerful aspect. So if we were to pass a turn, we realize that he has become friendly. Still, -3 total, when usually a +5 is what you are looking for. And if we go to here, you'll still see that we are still at a -3 total. However, he actually accepts our friendship. All because we chose, in the first part, and this 9 is perhaps hidden, and that might well be why. All because we chose at the very start to offer our early Empire open borders to him. I'm going to have a look at what would happen if we didn't do. Okay, so here we have the same situation again. We're about to meet Ludwig.
Oddly, it
Sahara,
appears not.
Of course. It's an honor to meet you, like some hospitality, but this time we're going to imagine that either we don't have early Empire open borders, or we just don't want to give it to them. What would be our fate? This time he isn't friendly. This time he's unfriendly, because we didn't even offer that. We're still in a negative, very much similar situation to having offered it, but the difference is quite staggering, because if we try making a friendship now, he will say exactly the same thing as before. And if we go, oh, sorry, I forgot. Let me please open my open borders to you now. Okay, so we're in the situation that we were the first time, but now a turn later, and we pass a turn.
It is equally important.
And we try befriending him now. He will still say no. First opening turns are absolutely crucial. And combine that with either a gift of gold or early Empire open borders, and you can make a huge difference to whether your game is smooth and friendly or unfriendly.
Hello, here I would like to discuss how to make sure that you can establish the trade routes that you want to be able to gain whatever it may be, including loyalty and friendship with fellow Civs if you're worried about their interactions and all of that. So the main key thing you have to bear in mind is your trader basically works off your information. if you can't see the route to the city, then neither can your trader. As we see here, I have a trader here that I would really like to be able to move to and trade with Pachacudi, because it would allow us to potentially befriend him, because you get +2 on this, the relationship points. So that would really help, and we want to try and get to +5 to hopefully ensure friendship. However, because this city is the only city A we see, but also B, we haven't uncovered this tile in particular. We don't actually know of a way for the trader to get across to it. And that is the defining difference between not being able to get across to trade with Cusco, but being able to trade perhaps even further away, if you have a look where the direction is, off there, to Akkad, because we can see every tile that the trader would take to get to here. It's not really about distance, it's about being able to see a tile the whole stretch of the way to your destination. Hello, you joined me in the early part of a new game of Babylon. As you can see, I'm trying to look for land. We are very near Gobastan. Gobastan! Gobastan so close to me. And I want to make sure that I take advantage of that. In general, I really like 3-tile wonders like this, more so than necessarily what the wonder itself gives me, except for maybe particular situations like that winter tundra one that provides food, which I can't remember what it's called. It looks like a red forest. In those cases, that's really vital because it allows you to build a city fairly well in a tundra area, which is really difficult usually unless you're like Russia or Canada to be able to build a city. But the point is, we're early game, we're trying to make land, we're trying to make the most of things. I just suzerained Jerusalem city state, and with that I got the map knowledge, and lo and behold, we have Spain over here almost killing them dead. This means they're either going to raise this city and remove it, or they're going to try and take it for their own. As you can see, their empire isn't that far away, but it is quite distant compared to mine. They're kind of encroaching into my space. This is quite concerning for me because I obviously want to take control of this land. I might want to have control of Jerusalem at some point. There's a lovely merchant that could do such a thing. However, how do I make sure that their next target after defeating Jerusalem isn't me? Well, that's all about trying to befriend and influence people. So, let's go over here to Spain. This tab right here with the heart tells you your relationship with them. Currently, my relationship with them is pretty bad. It's -6. I would preferably want to try and get an overall aggregate of +5 to see any sort of real change to become friends with them. How do we go about doing that? Well, there are several ways to do it. One, don't do things that he doesn't like. There are certain things such as agendas, such as counter-reformer, follow the same religion. Now, unfortunately for me, I do need a religious game. As a Diplo player, I value getting Mahabodi, I value getting a religion, I value pagodas. There's no way I'm not doing that. However, it is possible that he might even convert one of my cities, and I'd leave it alone. It would be fine. Second of all, we have this tab here. We have -3 for unknown reason, -3 for unknown reason. One of them is almost certainly just the initial greeting, because almost always, whenever you initially greet another Civ, there's some level of disappointment. I mean, you're in my space, get off my lawn, all those sort of things. So there's usually some kind of negative, but this could be anything up to like -8 sometimes. So -3 is actually not so bad. They're kind of permissive, they're okay with us. How do we make this better? Well, we have quite a bit of money coming in, as we already established 347 gold coming in. Giving them gold for nothing in return counts as Favourable Deals. Favourable Deals is the best way to generate influence. It can generate up to 10 influence on from a particular Civ. +10 would already take us from the -6 to +4. So if we do this, this won't be enough, mind you, but it will be +6. If we were to then add a couple more, 20 over here, we get to +8.
In addition, we can also offer open borders. Open borders does two things. One, I'm giving it for free, so that counts as a favorable deal to them. Another thing is that any open borders with any other civilization is counted as good points in your favor towards that civilization. So if we give this as a gift as well, we now have +3. This says unknown reason, but we know that we just gave open borders, and that's what the reason is. And this is +9 for yet another thing. We now have +6. I could continue this to get to +10. In fact, I will, just to show you that 10 is the maximum we can go into. In fact, I'll give 40, just to emphasize the point that 10 is the highest maximum that we can get from favorable deals. This will deteriorate. In fact, both positive and negative aspects to relationships will deteriorate over time, much like grievances. Both they will become less angry with us unless we do something to upset them in addition, and they will become less liking us. They'll forget our good deeds and our favoricy towards them and so on. So you want to try and keep this up as much as possible. You can see here it's now +13 -6. That's a +7 total aggregate. That's more than the 5 that we need, but that should show in the next couple of turns a favorable shift from unfriendly to friendly, like the other two, Jadviga and Poundmaker, so that we can befriend him just as we settle this city. By befriending him, he won't be able to go to war with us, and he won't be able to use these units to attack us. So let's see what happens with this particular. As you can see, it's just been removed. So now we can start moving down here. He's already removed his unfriendliness. We're already at now neutral. Another turn and he'll become friendly. However, in the process of this, okay, he doesn't accept it right now. Does he accept the allegation? No, he doesn't. Okay. So you'll probably see this now change to a green smiley face because we're still greater than +5. So this is a pretty good spot given these barbs. This is perhaps belongs in the previous video. But because there's only this tile that these ships can come into, we're not going to be under too much threat settling here. If we were settling here, there would be 4 potential spaces. It'd be very easy for them to kill. But here, fortunately enough, is exactly where we want to settle. And there you have it. You are blessed by God. Fantastic. Now that we have secured him, we don't need to worry about his potential threat of coming over and trying to attack us. This is very key to making sure that you can last the early game, progress into mid and late game, and then succeed in what you want to do, whether it be science, culture, left unattended, not having to worry about anyone attacking you until they're already decided that you're going to win, and proceed to victory. Hello, you find me here in the early game, and I want to talk about the order of making friends. It is very crucial that before you piss someone off, you make sure that you are friends with them, so that they are more likely to forgive you. In this case, we are quite close to Lady Sixka. And like a couple other Civs, Chandragupta included, they aren't a fan of frontal settlements. I would really like to settle here. Of course, to do so would infringe on her agenda. Now remember, genders are really important. In her case, solitary. Settles near her capital, like civilizations who settle at a distance. Dislikes any civilizations encroaching on mine territory. She almost certainly thinks, given that loyalty pressure is probably coming from her Chichen Itza, that this is her territory. So how do I make it so that it's okay? Well, first things first. We have to make sure that we appease her. And how do we do that? Well, by not settling for a while. And not settling near her until she is happy with us.
Chuns be jumpe maalo ob halachil, ki ima kietela me yaho ob.
Okay. So it appears that we have satisfied that. See that you continue to stay away from the Mayan homeland. For now, the stars shine in your favor. So she believes that we do not pose a threat of frontal settlements taking away her land, which is great. That's exactly what we want her to believe.
To try and further sweeten the deal, we could try and study early empire. In 4 turns, this will be boosted by this being at 6. That's probably the easiest bet. Let's do that. Ah, you can see she has finally turned friendly with us. And if we look over at our relationships tag, you can see that we literally have exactly +5 in favor. Remember, +5 is the key number. And it's no surprise that at this point, I'm not sure what this is, that she has become friendly towards us. Let's try and make a friendship. We are aligned. Fantastic. So as you can see, we've established friendship with Lady Six Sky now, and look at what our current situation is. We are +21 and -7. That's a +14. That's way above what would be required. But what happens, say, if we finally get on with our plan?
Leeko me yahob kupakat nacha me yah. Helpahala sukil.
What does she think of us now? We are now -2 already. What a huge difference that makes between being friends with her, which we can thankfully save the state of, to then being rather contentious. In our desperate bid to secure our friendship with Lady Six Guy over here, we have failed to see a bigger problem. We realize now that she's actually kind of enemies with everyone. Everybody's denounced her. And I'm still trying to make friendships happen with Menelik and Nader Shah, given they are neighbors. And Menelik is actually just even over here, so we need to make sure that we get on his good side, sharpish. In addition to that, we have made a trade deal with Menelik. It would be awfully disastrous to us if we were to lose that simply in our efforts to try and befriend everybody, because that is more than half of our current economy. Oh dear. There goes Nader Shah wanting to have a fight with us. And even worse, Menelik too wants to denounce us. What on earth is going to happen to our trade deal? How are we going to be able to establish relationships now? But fortunately, even though they've denounced us, and perhaps in a different set 4X, this might not be the case, but in Civ 6, our 17 gold per turn trade deal with Menelik still holds for its duration, in spite of what they may think of us. Before you've established friendships with everybody, early deals have a premium value to them, because they're not lost when, if we wanted to do anything now, he would ask what would it take and not just offer value for it. Making friends, whether it be in real life or in this game, is a tricky business. It not always goes to plan. No, sometimes your decisions can backfire against you. And in this example, we have a situation here where I'm trying to make friends with Rome. Rome are my nearest neighbors. They are right down here. They have a city of size 6 population just underneath us. And in order to try and befriend them, naturally one of the things that I have done, as we have discussed, is offer open borders, which is the +3. But we have so much apparently that they don't like. They are still upset that we haven't taken enough land, which to my mind makes no sense, since we have what, 7 cities or 6 cities? We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cities, and yet it still counts against their particular Optimus Princeps agenda, and agendas are very important to friendship making. 8 cities, in his eye, is still not a good amount of land. He likes people to take control of land, and yet we haven't satisfied that. So it can be quite arbitrary where the parameters lie in terms of satisfying certain Civs agendas. Some agendas are quite clear. For example, having a spy. For example, levying a city-state. For example, making trade. They can be fairly straightforward. But in some cases like this, you can clearly see that there is a little bit of ambiguity between what I would consider to be a significant amount of land and what they do. Think of it this way. I don't really know what units are in these cities. I don't know because I don't have the direct knowledge of it. I am not in there to see what is going on, even in the Roman cities. I don't know what's in there. It's all faded out. And the AI, in a fair way, follows that. They also don't know what you have, what you're building, what your plans are. But if you offer them open borders and they choose to walk through your lands, you have given them, I have given them, complete knowledge on how I'm building my cities. And since I really don't focus on war, they know that I am stripped bare when it comes to defending myself. And sometimes a favor like open borders can turn fire on you when they look at that and go, oh, well, if you're so weak, I'll declare war on you. Especially since we have not established friendship with them yet. We pass the turn. You can see that they are making their way to my camp, so I might as well put in another unit to try and hold them off. Again, using my money in ways I wish I wasn't being pushed to do so, because that's not really my aim, to make an army. But when needs must. So we try and build walls more strongly. And yet, in spite of all our efforts,
Alia jacta est.
we're in war. And for me, war is disaster. So what is the lesson to learn here? It's all good and well to be friendly, but know what friendly actions you can get away with without causing greater disaster. In this case, specifically, if you're gonna give open borders, give it to the people who aren't near you. And not worry about it, because they're not gonna make all the silly way all across the continent from over here just to send a couple of units to see what you're like. They don't even know what you are until they come over. It's gonna be way too much effort of them. They're not going to pay due diligence to that. But your nearest neighbor? Think very carefully if you're going to give your nearest neighbor open borders. Open borders is a great way to help establish connections, especially on the first meet, on the first impressions, because that has more effect. And it also means that you don't have to wait 2 turns from the unfriendly to the friendly. But if you do this, your open borders gives them the reason to attack you. Hello, you join me as I'm about to settle my last city on my main continent, right up top there. I think it's my 7th city now. With a -3, but we can easily deal with this. Loyalty pressure. So as you can see, with the city that we just built, we have broken our promise. We had made a promise to Gataja when we settled Silkvale a few turns ago, that she wanted us to not settle near her again. We have now settled at Groningen and broken that promise. We do not want to cause a war with anybody. So how do we amend this? They have 193 grievances against us. Grievances decay, but it's around 10 per turn. That means they have grievances against us for 20 more turns. This is very likely, with the -40 and everything else, to be very bad for our future relations. We are not likely to be able to retain friendship alone on this basis. So how do we amend this? Well, if we go to alliances, we can make cultural alliance with her. The cultural alliance will mean that we no longer have to worry about loyalty pressure either, so it's pretty useful for this situation. We can also see if we can make a little more money off of it, but that's immaterial. Doing this means that we will be allied with her for 20 turns. Like I said, grievances reduce around 10 per turn. So by the time the grievances are gone, the alliance will last. So therefore we are covering our hide from these grievances, from this minus 40 grievances against us, to being an ally with her. Thus she will still befriend us, still be happy with us for the duration of this grievance. If I pass the turn now, let's have a look at how much grievances they have against us this turn. Last time was 193, now it's 186. This means that it might take 20, 25 turns to reduce it to a reasonable level. As you can see, it's already had an effect to our overall alliance, of our overall relationship status, reducing from 40 to 38. So as long as we remain allied with her, we will be able to overcome the last 2 turns of friendship and proceed that into enough time to allay these grievances, so that by the time that the ally expires, we will no longer have to worry about breaking our promise. Hello, currently I am trying to win an aid request set up by Lautaro in order to get the necessary diplomatic points I need to be able to win this game. Be mindful that sometimes your interaction and your relationship, as he has denounced me, can get in the way of this. And make sure that you have enough money to give when you do, because otherwise this will happen. However, as you can see, I was able to put in 1472 earlier because around about 400, 500 mark, you should be allowed to be able to do that. Simple one here, but important nonetheless and easy to miss. As you can see, I have befriended every single other civilization in the game. However, if you have a discerning eye, you might notice something a little bit different. Basically, one of these friendships needs being renewed, because blue-green is not the same as green. If you notice, this face, slightly smaller, slightly different color to these. This is the beginning of when you lose a friendship and you need to restore it. They're still going to have a very positive, friendly feeling towards you, which is why they're green. But definitely towards the end of the game. But really, for any potential reason, like this minus 20 different governments situation, you could quickly lose from friendly to neutral to unfriendly, and it spirals out of control. And hell, worst come to worst, they could even try and war with you at some point. So just keep an eye on the color of the faces. I know it's very easy to confuse the two, right? And especially you poor colorblind people, I can imagine that's not an easy distinction to make. But it is important because, like I say, these things can slip out of control all too easily. And as you saw earlier, you don't want war on your hands. At least not if you're playing a peaceful, diplomatic, or other win-con game. Hello, I'd like to round off this video with one final, really important point, which can end in disaster depending on your situation. And it's towards the end of the game, so I think it's fitting that it's the final point to make. So, what is it? Of course, as a Diplo player, you're looking to make friends. You want to be on good terms with people, so that you can basically be allowed to play the game you want. That's all good and well, but when your opponent sees that you're about to win, they will retract previous friendships that have lasted for 50, 100 turns, maybe more. I am winning a game of diplomacy, as you can see here. I have 1 point left to make. In here we have a Congress that will be ready to go in 1 turn. There's a good chance with my 653 Diplo favor that I can swing the vote and win it. And the AI knows this. And because the AI knows this, even though he's been on good terms, friendly, for quite a period of time, I don't tell you exactly how long, but nevertheless, if I try and declare friendship now, they don't want it anymore. Granted, there's a whole bunch of things here that they don't like us about, different governments and whatnot, but if you have a look at the other ones, they'll have that too. And, you know, all these other ones, some more than others, that one's still pretty fine with us. Different governments, again. Once this friendship expires in 2 more turns, there's a good chance that she'll not like us for the differing governments, for the fascism versus the monarchy, like Lady Six Guy. How do you overcome that? If you want, always remember there are alliances. Alliances can easily be made so that then instead of just 2 turns, we have 20 more turns. More than enough time to lapse over whatever win con we were going for.